Officer for AMT. I'm here with the Daily Minute. Well, I tell you, when you look at the newspapers and the economic reports that were coming out last week and today, it's not really all that promising. It could almost make you feel a little bit concerned about where we're heading. Consumer sentiment came out. Michigan consumer sentiment came out on Friday, and it fell in November to a level of 77, down from 81.8. That's not heading in the right direction. But I would say that one of the positive things, if you can find one in there, is that it was based primarily on a resurgence or an expectation of a resurgence of COVID and the potential impact on businesses as far as governors and across the manufacturing areas of the United States shutting down businesses for an extended period of time, 2, 3, 4 weeks. All of which we've heard from different governor offices over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks, as a way to possibly deal with concerns about growing rate of COVID in the United States during this winter, beginning of the winter. But on top of that, the National Federation of Independent Businesses got a great index that comes out. Businesses are small businesses, which make up over 75% of all the businesses in the country. And employ an overwhelming majority of the people in the country as well. And that index, which we were expecting to see move up on the pattern it had been over the last 2 or 3 months, actually fell by 1%. So it's same thing as flat, but not the growth we were expecting, and slightly negative. So basically a draw for the current time. The other index that came out today, out of the New York Fed, what they call the Empire State Manufacturing Survey, shows that orders in the Northeast were growing in October. In November, up slightly from October, and that the employment was on the rise as well. But the optimism of the businesses had softened a bit. It's still positive, but not as optimistic as it was in October. Durable good orders, which came out last week, were up in general by a modest single-digit number. We also saw rises, significant rises in several of our key customer areas in the manufacturing technology sector, in power generation and consumer electronics and household appliances. Also, there was modest improvements in orders for automobile and transportation products. And we did see in these numbers, as well as we did in USMTO numbers, as I mentioned last week, a pickup in shipments and orders for recreational products, snowmobiles, golf equipment, bicycles, particularly in bicycles, a backlog that has grown significantly. So that's the economic news. Going more closer to home, what's happening with machines in the manufacturing technology sector, we're seeing that October probably was down slightly from September, and it's more industry based. There are a couple of industries that weren't doing as well as they were in September, and amongst those, there was a slowdown from the amount of capital spending in the automobile sector that occurred in July, August, and September. So October really had a hard time keeping up with that, because we had some really large orders in the automobile industry in those 3 months. And so it was kind of a softening there, but we expect that to be going up as well, because information about quotation activity for November is suggesting that almost in every sector, except for maybe aerospace, we're seeing some significant interest in additional equipment as we get close to the end of the year. We don't have the same tax incentives, where, in other words, putting in the tax incentives late in the year, so people only know what the tax situation is going to be for November, December. With the 2017 tax reform, we have a guaranteed set of tax incentives from 17 through 22 before they begin to be reduced by 20 percentage points a year. So there's not as big a rush in December as there has been in the past, but I think we may see a little bit of a pickup in December relative to 19 and 18 and 17 as a result of a better set of optimism as we go from transitioning in 2019 to transitioning into 2020 with vaccines in process or on the way, with a better set of economic and trade opportunities going forward. But we can't really be sure until we get there. I will say that the optimism on the last two groups I've spoken to, business groups I've spoken to, is relatively high, better than it was in even June when the numbers began to pick up. And we expect that we'll finish this year off better than 20% down from last year. In other words, the decline year over year will be right around 20%. That's what the most optimistic forecast in our conference was just a few weeks ago. The most pessimistic one, certainly almost impossible to realize based upon how good the October orders were. Down from September, but still very strong. We're looking at certainly something between 19 and 25% overall for the year. With that, we've got great expectations for 2021, with everyone interested in getting back out there and making investments and growing their capacity, and some really strong businesses right now in the mold, in the auto industry, auto parts, job shops are extremely busy, and then of course the ordnance area as well. And we're seeing a pickup in MRO for aircraft engines, and then finally the defense space area and the aerospace industry is very strong. And I've tacked onto that renewable energy. Again, I've mentioned this the last 2 Mondays. If you didn't see the MT Forecast event, go on, register, pay particular close attention to the opportunity tracks. They were pre-recorded. They weren't on during the 3 days that we were broadcasting MT Forecast. Energy, space, and defense. 2 different opportunity tracks that have a lot of good information and you want to take a peek at. And of course, the forecast from Steve Klein, Alan Bellio, and Mark Killian from Oxford Economics. So until next week, stay safe, stay busy, and hopefully we'll have better information to give you or better news to give you next Monday. Take care.